Avery, whose show is this? And we're live. Welcome, everybody, here to the Lakers Lounge Podcast. I'm Anthony Irwin, Senior Lakers Insider for Clutch Points. And today on the show, we're going to be talking about whatever you want to talk about. I know I did a mailbag episode on Sunday and got to more of the traditional mailbag questions that we take. But for this one, we're going to try something a little bit different. Normally, I stream these shows over two platforms, obviously here on YouTube and then to my Twitter account. Thing is, Twitter artificially boosts its viewership numbers. So if you accidentally glance at that show, not only does Twitter count it as viewership, but it also won't like it won't show that people have tuned out. And I short of my own vanity, I've or because of my own vanity, I've just kept on going there because those numbers going up make me feel good. But they are also impossible to monetize. So I am here and I want to see what the numbers look like if we just keep this YouTube exclusive. And then I'll turn it into a podcast, obviously. But what this does mean, though, is that I need your help, and I need you to pop in here, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and then also send me a question in the form of a comment. It could be a paid comment, it could be a regular comment. I just need every question and comment that I can get, so that we can carry this episode further into a manageable amount of time. I will obviously open up with some thoughts on the state of the Lakers right now. Kind of laugh at myself, given that every time I get optimistic about the team, something bad happens. And I think I said I wasn't willing. I had a JD who is who tunes into the show regular texted me today, and he said that apparently I said I wouldn't go so far as to say that the Lakers were the best team in the league. And ever since that moment, the Lakers have gone 3-7. The last time Pete and I came on the show and talked about how optimistic about the state of things, something else disastrous happened. Jovan Buha and I came on the show and talked about our optimism, and I think that's when Rui and LeBron both got hurt. So the Lakers, anybody from the Lakers organization, if you guys are watching, hit me up and pay me to continue to criticize you guys, because apparently anytime I do anything but criticize the Lakers, something terrible is right around the corner. So wanted to kind of chuckle about that. I do want to start with a very first takey question. What is more concerning with these Lakers, the offense or the defense? So we'll talk about that. And then, like I said, it's going to come down to you guys. If I get 3 questions from now until I answer those 3 questions, that'll be the length of the show. If I get 30 questions, I will get to as many of those questions in an hour or so that I possibly can. And that'll be the show. But we'll see how this goes. But yeah, let's go ahead and dive on it. Quick reminder, please do hit that subscribe button if you guys are watching live here on Twitter. And then if you guys are, new here because of the new format of the show, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, all of that good stuff. And then if you guys are listening to this in the form of a podcast, please hit that subscribe button wherever it is that you get your pods, and leave a 5-star review wherever it is that you get your pods, preferably on Odyssey because I'm a company man. Where's it? Right there. Yeah, right there. Right down there. That Odyssey logo down there. All right, let's go ahead and discuss the state of the Lakers. So it's been one of those funny days on Twitter where everybody is in such a bad mood that anything anyone says has to be disagreed with. And some people are saying, yeah, God, this team sucks. They can't stop anybody. And people are like, no, you're wrong. This team sucks because their offense sucks. And no, you're wrong. This team sucks because maybe they sucked all along. Or no, those guys are wrong because no, the Lakers suck because they are still relying on a 40-year-old LeBron, and Austin Reeves isn't good enough to be a third best player. Like, everybody is finding their own reasons for why the Lakers suck again. And I don't know. At this stage of my life, I'm not really all that interested in Twitter bickering. But I still see it, and it, is a very active community. I wouldn't have this gig without that very active community. And I don't know. I guess I'll chime in. One, I don't think the Lakers suck. It's late March, and as I talked about in yesterday's show, this team has senioritis. They see the playoffs right around the corner. They have LeBron and Luka on their team. Yes, there are certainly some concerns. I'm not thrilled about the fact that Jackson Hayes is the starting center for a team that hopes to win a championship either this year or next year. I am nervous about Rui Hachimura's knee, because without him, the Lakers' offensive floor, I know we talk a lot about offensive ceiling or the team's ceiling as a result of Rui's presence, but I think he's actually kind of more of a floor raiser with his ability to knock down open shots, and opposing defenses having to care about him on the court compared to how they feel about Dorian Finney-Smith and certainly Jared Vanderbilt. Those are a couple concerns. I don't love the fact that Luka Doncic and LeBron James still haven't really run anything together, and that anytime Luka, Austin, and LeBron are out there on the court, they play the roll the ball out there offense, and I don't really enjoy watching that offense. And I think they're kind of playing with a hand tied behind their back, so long as that continues. Their point of attack defense leaves a lot to be desired, and I think they're very vulnerable against teams that have 3-level scorers at the point guard position. So there are certainly concerns. Maybe the defense, when it was playing really well and they were kicking everybody's butt earlier about a month ago or whatever, maybe that was the outlier, and that they have returned, or they have turned back into a pumpkin defensively. Maybe, that they were benefiting from some poor shooting from some of those teams out there, but I also think they aren't necessarily as bad as they've been when they've gotten outliers shooting on the positive side for some of those teams. So, yeah, if I had to rank, let's do that. If I had to rank my concerns with this team right now, my number one concern is the offense, and how rudimentary and how pedestrian the offense looks as a result of how basic the sets are. I know that eventually in the postseason, that's essentially what these plays kind of whittle down to. And the strategy in the game devolves to, all right, let's get our best player with the ball in his hands and try to get him matched up one-on-one against the other team's worst defender. Like, okay, all right, I get it that eventually that's where you want to get to. But that's the kind of thing that, like, you shouldn't need to work on over the course of the season. And for like 40 or so minutes over the course of these NBA games, maybe a little bit less, you do run stuff, and you do need to score efficiently and effectively in the half court. And I just don't think that the Lakers are as effective or efficient as they could be if they just ran stuff that utilized their best players. I know that's groundbreaking analysis, but that's where I stand on it. So I don't know, over the last however many games the Lakers have between now and the end of the season, the number one thing I'm going to be looking for is when Luka and when LeBron and when Austin are all on the court together at the same time, are the Lakers ever actually going to run anything? And by extension there, whenever Austin and Luka are on the court together, can we have Austin setting an actual screen there? Because essentially, and everything right now appears to be revolving offensively around Luka either creating for himself or others. And I get it. He's an incredible creator, whether that be for himself or others. But I do think if you have other, secondary and tertiary creators like the Lakers do in LeBron James and Austin Reeves, and you basically turn those guys into 3-and-D defenders, that's making them maybe the worst, but worse versions of themselves. And like even when Austin is setting screens, there was a possession against Orlando yesterday that I was watching, and it was driving me crazy because Austin kept on. It was basically a two guard kind of situation, whether it was by design or it just kind of happened. But Austin and Luka were up on up top. Austin passed the ball over to Luka as the shot clock was kind of winding down, and Austin goes to set a screen. And I'm like, okay, cool. Like this should create something. This should generate a decent look. Whenever Austin sets a screen for LeBron, it tends to create a decent look. But Austin kept doing this thing where he would go to set the screen and he would just kind of like tap the player on the butt, and then he would like try to pop really, really quickly without ever actually doing anything in terms of setting a screen. And he did that like 3 times. And the point clearly is to get whoever was guarding Austin, guarding Luka, so that Luka could attack that guy and force the defense to rotate to that mismatch. And I understand that is a big chunk of the offense, especially late in games. But also, the Lakers were running some really cool stuff with LeBron and with AD and with Austin down the stretches of these games, where you would have these, 3-man sets that the Lakers were running that opposing teams just didn't know what to do with. And it basically turned into those opposing teams just not guarding the corner and then hoping that Rui or Vando, or well, not really Vando, he wasn't playing much at the time. But it was like Rui or Gabe or Dorian, like defenses were just not guarding those guys because they had to focus solely on the 3-man combination of LeBron, Austin, and AD. And I I understand that it's not apples to oranges, or it is apples to oranges, because Luka and AD are such different players. But this notion of like, yeah, we can't do anything involving those 3 guys in the same set. That's where I just kind of scratch my head a little bit. It doesn't really make a ton of sense to me. And like this is the time of the year also where you should be trying some of that stuff out. All right, like you don't necessarily think, excuse me, you don't think that it'll work. Okay, I get it. There are some concerns there, but like, can we just see it? Can we see what it looks like? Can we see how what kind of predicament those 3 guys put the opposing defense into? Like that, like let's just see what it looks like and give it a go. And if it doesn't work, okay, you weren't planning to run it anyway. So I think I would start with the offense being a concern, and specifically the half court offense is a concern of mine. From there, I would say the rebounding is a concern. Um, you just don't have very many big guys. And when you play against a team like Oklahoma City, or you play against a team like Denver, or you play against a team like Houston or Memphis, or some of these bigger and or more athletic teams, Minnesota comes to mind. The Clippers come to mind with Zubats. Like the defensive rebounding there from the Lakers, you run the risk of really putting yourself at a disadvantage, because that's how math swings one way or the other, the position battle. And the Lakers have to work really, really hard to get stops. And then if you get that stop, you generate the miss, and then you don't grab the rebound, then you put yourself in an impossible spot um, for whatever comes after that offensive rebound. And then on top of it, you wear yourself down because that's an extra possessions that defense has to play that hard for. And yeah, so defensive rebounding is a pretty big concern of mine. That's number 2. And then number 3, I would say this is kind of a cheat code here, but the transition offense and their reluctance at times to run because of how Luka prefers to play and how LeBron prefers to play. This team isn't good enough in the half court to be as reticent as they can be sometimes to run. And part of that right now is that it is March 25th. Happy birthday, Mom. It is March 25th, and you don't want to exert yourself too much because the playoffs are right around the corner and you're just tired. 6 games in 8 nights. They're probably still recovering from it. But the transition in the regular season, like as the season dwindles down a little bit, and their hesitancy to run during the stretch has been kind of annoying. And it makes me really concerned because in the postseason, you can't run as much. And if the Lakers are at all hesitant to run on the few occasions that they're able to run, and this offense isn't quite hitting at the rate that it needs to hit, now you start to get really constipated and you force your defense to have to carry you. And I just don't think the Lakers have the defense, the personnel to have the defense carry them. So those are kind of my 3 main concerns, and we'll see how well those are figured out, to what extent they get figured out over the course of the rest of the season. And I'm curious what you guys think as well. All right, let's go ahead and dive on into your questions, and there are plenty of them. So let's wow, I have a lot of work to do here. LeBrock Purdy writes, is Goodwin going to get signed? I believe so. I haven't heard anything to the contrary. Now, it's going to be interesting to see if the Lakers opt to keep Cam Reddish just to maintain their depth because of Rui's banged up knee and Jared Vanderbilt's it being in and out of the lineup over the course of the year. Dorian Finney-Smith has been nursing this ankle thing. It's going to be interesting to see if the Lakers are get a little bit of cold feet when it comes to waiving Cam because of the state of their wing rotation, their role player wing rotation. Add to that LeBron's injury, and their just wing rotation in general is pretty banged up. But he's a big part of their rotation. He's their best point of attack defender, and he's the only one of their point of attack defenders who has any kind of physicality and size. Gabe tries really, really hard, but I think he's listed at 6'3" or something like that, and that seems way bigger than Gabe actually is. So I believe Goodwin is going to get signed at some point here soon. I'm going to write about that entire situation for Clutch Points, and everything I've heard to this point is that, yeah, Goodwin will be on the playoff roster. Clayton DeMarkey writes, a big hug from Brazil. Since the Lakers is so beloved around the world, what you think about preseason overseas or a veteran team traveling around the world? My dream is to see a game personally. It's something the league would love to see the Lakers do. And historically the Lakers have been involved in stuff like that. They've gone and played in China. Remember, now infamously, that China trip that all took place. The Lakers were in China when Daryl Morey, retweeted that tweet or whatever he did that pissed off the Chinese government, and the Lakers were kind of stuck out there, and there was all that kind of concern about their security. And then, but the Lakers have gone there. We just saw the Dodgers go play in Japan. That's a market that I know the league would like to get a hold of, and the Lakers would like to get a hold of by having Rui on their team. Brazil is an interesting one, or all of those kind of South American countries there, are interesting as options. There's a ton of passion for basketball down there. I talk to Lee twice a week about this stuff on Basketball Passport, and he, I believe he was just in Peru, and he went to Argentina earlier this year as well. And he just says, like, every time he goes down there he just gets question after question after question, like, when's the league coming out here? When's the NBA coming? NBA. When's the NBA coming down here? Like, when do we get to watch these guys up close and personal? I would love for it to happen. Unfortunately, the league can't keep only using the Lakers because, and as much as they would like to, with the Lakers being the league's kind of only major global brand. But yeah, I would say, before too long, the NBA will refocus itself on. They calmed some of this stuff down because of COVID, but as the world hopefully opens up a little bit, and maybe one day stabilizes, that'll never happen. I would say that the Lakers will probably make a trip down to South America in one way or another. The Sir 420 writes, "Good day, Anthony. Do you think they'll get Dalton back in the rotation after the recent skid? They're gonna have to make a decision between him and Rui. Man, the allergies out here are terrible. But yeah, the Lakers basically, since Rui has come back. All right, let's go through the number of players that the Lakers have who are like goodish to good, and obviously above that. You have your starting lineup of Austin, Luka, LeBron. We'll go with Dorian because that's who's starting right now, and Jackson. There's 5. Then outside of that, you have Gabe. You have Goodwin, who's been playing a ton lately. You have Vando. You have Rui. There's 9. And then you have Dalton. And then if you want to play a backup center beyond him, whether that's Jemison or Koloko, that gets you to 11. Am I forgetting somebody there? Help me out if I'm forgetting somebody there. I think I named everybody there. But the problem with how many guys that the Lakers have is that it's the Lakers keep getting forced into the situation here where the famous cliche in the NFL is if you have 2 quarterbacks, that means you don't have any quarterbacks. And the Lakers right now, it's like they have Rui, who is a really good offensive minded wing. They have Vando, who's a pretty good defensive, or a really good defensive minded wing, but not nearly good enough offensively to rely on him. Rui's defense has kind of come and go over the course of the season. You have somebody like Dorian who kind of splits the difference there. And I think if he was fully healthy, he would definitely get the bulk of the minutes. But his shooting is kind of inconsistent. His body has been kind of inconsistent. He's older than you think as well. And so like the Lakers, if you have 3 wings, you don't have one really good 3-and-D wing. Do you follow? So you have that at the wing spot. You also, if you want to, talk about the shooting guards, they don't really have a true shooting guard. You have Dalton, who kind of fits that mold the best, but he's a little bit bigger, and you can't possibly even joke about calling him 3-and-D wing because there's no defense there. And for a solid chunk of the season, there wasn't very much 3-part either. So you had that going on. And then you have Jordan Goodwin, who is an inconsistent at best shooter, even though he is a much better defender than Dalton. So you're kind of stuck in the same situation as you are at your small forward or power forward type of wings. Now you're shooting guard, small forward type wings. Those guys are kind of stuck in that. Well, we have 2 of them, therefore we don't really have any of them. And at the center spot, we know the Lakers don't have a starting caliber center on their roster. Jackson had a nice little run there. We'll see if he's able to regain some of that higher level play. But as it stands right now, the Lakers, in terms of role players, they have a whole bunch of men, right? Have you ever looked into your closet on a date night and you're like, man, I wish I would have gone to the store. I wish I would have gone to the mall and gotten something a little bit fresher than this because it's just a whole bunch of, and no, I wouldn't say that the Lakers role players are a whole bunch of, but I'll say that it's very bland. Or like out here, the problem that I have with a lot of the Mexican restaurants out here, I just tried a new one tonight, and we're optimistic about it. Although we had to pay $100 for a family of 4 at a Mexican restaurant, and I'm just kind of diametrically opposed to that, knowing how cheap it is to make good Mexican food. But anyway, the problem with a lot of the Mexican food out here is it's Tex-Mex. And the problem with Tex-Mex is like Mexican food is supposed to have these vibrant flavors. So you're supposed to feel Mexican food in your soul by way of those spices, by way of the depth of the flavors and these generational recipes that, go back decades, if not centuries, it feels like. And out here, somebody somewhere along the way was like, all right, I know Mexican food is really good. How about we add some Texas to it? And it was the dumbest thing ever done in the history of food. And what it basically leads to is you look at these menus and you look at all of the menu and it's like, yeah, those enchiladas are probably okay, but they're not spicy enough. You can do fajitas and that allows you to kind of dictate some of the spice there, but the meat's usually overcooked and it's a lot more presentation than it is production. So I don't know, a lot of the Mexican food out here near where I live, it's better as you get closer to the city. But a lot of the Mexican food out here, you look at the menu, it's just a whole bunch of it'll technically do the job, but it's not the kind of quality that I'm actually looking for, having left Southern California, which is an absolute hotspot of Mexican food. And that's kind of how I feel about a lot of the Lakers role players, where, yeah, some of those guys kind of sort of do the job, but really, if this team is going to go very far at all, it's going to be because Luka and LeBron do something really special, and the other guys are good enough to not screw it up. And the sooner that the Lakers get some legitimate role players there, some guys that you look forward to their meetings. Dorian felt like this a little earlier in the year. And I think he's the closest to this, but and Rui, I think, is certainly capable of playing at this level, and he was before the knee thing started bothering him. But until the Lakers, have a few more guys that you're like, oh, hell yeah. I know, like, there is a Mexican restaurant down the street that has great caldo, and I look forward to their caldo every weekend if I could, but Jen won't let me. And the sooner the Lakers find a few more guys who are like of that kind of quality, the sooner I'll feel better about the state of this roster. All right, let's go back up here to the top. Inside outside 3328. Having watched Luka for a little while now, what are your main gripes with his play, if any? Well, I just don't like grifting for fouls. And I know I probably shouldn't be saying this, on a team that has Austin and on a team that has Luka, but like he's too good to do as much grifting and whining as he does. I I think it actually hurts his whistle, and I think he gets a pretty bad whistle. And I'm not blaming the player here for referees being bad at their jobs, but yeah, all of the texts and that stuff, like I don't necessarily love it. Uh, as far as actual basketball play, like defense is an easy one to hit on, but I I do kind of think that he needs to find a better balance earlier in the game of going for his own production and then and getting other guys into a rhythm early in the game. And I think that's the kind of thing that he was better at in Dallas because he was more used to the players that he had as teammates there. But overall, like watching Luca has been a legitimately great experience, and I can't wait to keep on watching it, especially as he gets more used to playing with some of these teammates, and he understands who's looking for the ball when, who needs an early look, who can wait a little longer, and allows him to, go out and get his own. I think most of these gripes are mostly fixable. The whining and the foul grifting though is pretty tough for me to watch. I'd be a raging hypocrite if I didn't say that. Clayton DeMarkey writes, what's the most realistic slash better addition to the team next season and after LeBron? The after LeBron part is tough because I think Luca extends LeBron's career. Now, I do get the sense, and I might be kind of looking for something here, but I do get the sense that LeBron doesn't exactly like he just looks like he has he's a little bit more into the game when Luca isn't out there. And I think that's a recent thing. And I think that's me looking for something more so than it's actually existing. But I do kind of feel like LeBron is being turned into this 3 and D wing, and I think he's pretty capable of it, especially the defense part earlier in his career, but I do really think that's a misuse of LeBron's talents, and I think he thinks so too. So, again, this is, like, the kind of thing that can be fixed with time, and once it gets figured out a little bit more, the team will look a lot better, and I think LeBron will be a lot more interested in kind of sticking around a little longer. So the post LeBron thing is kind of tough, but um, the kind of player that they really need right now is, I would say, I mean, the easy answer is earlier career Anthony Davis, right? Like Anthony Davis, when he first got into the league, would be absolutely perfect on this team because he was an insane athlete, could go and get a lob, yay high over the rim, and had astronomical feet to be able to switch the way that the Lakers want to be able to switch. So, yeah, go out and get me one of the top prospects to come out of college in the last like 25 years. But I would say, like a more switchy DeAndre Jordan, from Lob City, that kind of player would be great to go out and get. I think the Lakers, what they're probably going to have to consider doing here is, and they don't have a pick in the first round this year, so that makes it tougher. But I wouldn't hate if the Lakers are really focused on using their draft picks. I wouldn't hate going out and just drafting the best center or the best athlete that you see at center in the draft, who is within reachability, right? You're not going to be able to go out and get Cooper Flagg, who isn't the center, but you know what I mean? That kind of approach where you say, I don't care how raw this player is, I don't care how little experience this guy has, I don't care what kind of holes we see in this guy's game, but we need to get us a center, a lob threat who is cost controlled over the next few years and who can just learn the game of basketball next to Luka, next to LeBron, next to Austin for the next 3-4 years before we really, really have to pay him. And that's essentially what Dallas did with Derek Lively. And we saw the impact that Luka had on him. I'm really curious to see what kind of player he is without Luka and without Kyrie. But yeah, that type of center, that holy bleep type of athlete who can go up there and catch a lob pass above the square and then also get back on defense and not get knocked off the spot. And I know I'm describing a max level center, and that's why I would hope to get him in the draft. But like Robert Williams, when he was healthy, it would be perfect. Problem is Robert Williams is never healthy. So if you can find a healthier Robert Williams, then we're good. That's all they need to do, Rob. The second part of yeah, I answered all of that. Yeah, go get healthy Robert Williams, please. Let's see. Patrick Herc, I just subscribed. Thank you very much, sir. George R. BC, I saw your comment, but it doesn't really look like a question, so I'm not going to answer it. Took my little one to their first game yesterday. Awesome experience despite the outcome. What would be your ideal playoff bracket? First round through the finals. What record would they need for the second seed? What do they need to go for the final 11? I would say 8-3 is a safe guess. I'm going to look at the standings really quick and pull up what they look like right now. But if the Lakers could somehow, all right, we'll say ideal, meaning not necessarily realistic. I'm not saying they can jump up and catch Oklahoma City, which they mathematically cannot. The Oklahoma City Thunder clinched the conference already. So let's say seeds 2 through 10 are available. We'll put the Lakers at the 2 seed, and then I would want the Grizzlies at I would say Lakers at the 2 seed, Grizzlies at the 3 seed, Denver at the 4 seed, Houston at the 5 seed. Denver would be I would want Minnesota at the 5 seed because Minnesota has a decent chance at knocking off the Denver Nuggets too. So I'd want Minnesota at the 5 seed. I would want Memphis at the 6 seed. And then I would prefer to have, when it's all said and done, Golden State at the 8 spot. And I'll go Golden State at the 7 spot and the Clippers at the 8 spot. I think if we're, again, just being realistic here, I think Sacramento and Phoenix kind of fall by the wayside in the play-in. So I'm not counting those guys as realistic options. If I really want to be super ideal, right, I would have the Clippers not make it and have like Sacramento in there as the Lakers' first round opponent. I just don't see it. So but that's kind of how I would prefer to see the conference play out. How realistic do I see that? not all that realistic. I don't see the Lakers going 8-3 over the rest of the season here. I think they're going to start prioritizing health and freshness for the postseason, and that would impact their total wins. They also have a just brutal stretch for the rest of the season. For some reason, though, the rest of the conference kind of sucks right now. Like Denver is 4-6 of their last 10. So that's kind of kept the Lakers in the conversation for a top 4 seed. Golden State, I believe they're getting wrecked earlier by Miami. Let's see if that game is final. It is. Yeah, Miami beat the crap out of Golden State. That had to feel good for Heat fans. So that helped the Lakers there. Looking elsewhere at who is playing whom. Oh, Utah and Memphis is close at halftime. Now Utah is eventually going to pull their guys to ensure they get the right tanking outcome. And then Houston is just slightly ahead of Atlanta in the fourth quarter there. So yeah, I so long as the rest of those 2 through 6 seeds continue to stumble, then great. Like maybe you don't need to go 8-3, and that does give the Lakers a little better opportunity at clinching or jumping all the way as high as the 2 seed. But I think the likeliest scenario is probably the Lakers finishing 4th, going 6-5 or 7-4 for the rest of the season, and then seeing who you got from there. But look, even more, I probably should have started with this. This conference is so brutal that there is no easy path that I could chart that is at all realistic. You're still going to have to go through Oklahoma City. You're still probably going to have to face Denver at some point. You probably also are going to have to play Golden State as well. So you're just, you're not going to avoid all of those teams. All of those teams, you're probably going to play 1 or 2 of them. And so long as that remains the case, that Western Conference playoff run is going to suck, and it's probably going to take a couple of years or so off of our lives. No big deal though. No, I'm fine. I'm fine as a human being, perfectly balanced. Let's go with, let's see, where's the next one? Clayton, again, to me, you're the best and represents a lot of people. Do you get the love you deserve? Do you think you get the love you deserve in this business? Yeah, I mean, like comment sections tend to not be nice to anybody, so I don't think I'm particularly unique there. Look, and again, I know you guys probably get really, really sick of me promising this or talking about this, but we are like right on the precipice of doing some really cool stuff. And I have been tasked with like a really cool opportunity for Odyssey that I have been working my entire career towards. So in that regard, like, do I get the kind of love in that regard? I absolutely do. I'm so blessed to be able to do this, and I'm so blessed to continue to get your guys' support, and I will never ever take it for granted. I got home from dinner tonight. I was kind of bummed because we paid $100 for Mexican food. Jen and I split our meal, and it was $100 anyway. But I got home and I was like, I just don't feel like working. But then it's you kind of kick yourself and you say, what am I complaining about? I'm not exactly. My brother-in-law works in HVAC. The weather is about to kick up to, it was 90 degrees out here in Austin today. And my brother-in-law is about to have to work on these roofs, working on people's air conditioning in 110-degree weather with crazy humidity. And I'm sitting here saying like, gosh, man, it really sure stinks that I have to go. It doesn't stink, but I'm like kind of tired. I don't know if I have it in me to go and talk about the Lakers. That's crazy. It's nonsensical. It's farcical. And my entire life is frankly a dream come true. So to answer your question, Clayton, do I feel I get the love I deserve in the business? I absolutely do. I would love to be more blessed. I would love to continue to see where this career takes us. But to this point, I have very, very little complaints about what this business has done to me, and then also for me and my family. Thank you for the question, though, and thank you for the love. I appreciate it. Let's go up here to the Sir 420. This is probably a stupid question, but could the lack of offensive schemes be deliberate to keep some things under wraps until the playoffs? I don't think that's a stupid question. It's crossed my mind. I think there might be a little to that. The problem with it is twofold. One, you still need to get your reps in over the course of these games. And two, building on that point, the Lakers don't practice enough to be able to implement those plays that they're keeping tucked away for a rainy day. Look, at the end of the day, sports life, it's all a matter of habits, right? There's that one giant dude who put his daily routine on online, and everybody kind of roasted it. And just so you guys know, I stuck my face in some freezing cold bubbly water before we came on here. Didn't help, but but the point of that, and you see what that guy looks like, man. The guy's freaking chiseled, and you don't look like that unless you show crazy discipline and sacrifice to focus on making your body look like that. Obviously, I don't share that discipline. And the Lakers defensively, I think some of their habits have waxed and waned. I think they've gotten better over the course of the season, but they, as we've just seen recently, we're starting to see some of those cracks in the habits. Offensively, you can't it's not like 2K where you just call 2-5 up or whatever it is, whatever series of buttons that you hit to run whatever set that you want, and the team runs that set exactly as it's designed on 2K. It doesn't work like that. You have to get in the game and get used to calling sets and get used to running sets and sprinting through sets and sprinting through screens and sprinting to screens. Those are things that I understand the point of the question, and I've wondered it on a couple occasions too. But the larger point here with the Lakers offense is I just don't think they have the best habits. And until those habits improve, I think it's probably more likely than not that this roll the ball out their offense is the kind of offense they run in the postseason. Yeah, I can't believe they chose the Pelicans to play in Australia instead of the Lakers. Shit, pick the Bulls. Like, they have Giddey. Pick Dallas. Kyrie has some ties to Australia. Probably not Ben Simmons. I don't think he's very popular out there. But yeah, the Pelicans of all teams was a weird one because Zion, one, isn't the draw that he used to be because he isn't available often enough. And two, we don't know what the state of that team is going to be. Is Zion even going to be on their team by the time that they play in Australia? It was a weird choice to have them out there. Bashir writes, thoughts on Andrew Wiggins? Miami's going to have some decisions to make this summer. Look, it's Pat Riley. He's one of the most stubborn people in the sport. If he sees enough from Andrew Wiggins is going to get re-signed. I like the idea of Andrew Wiggins, and I like an Andrew Wiggins who feels slighted. It's always funny to watch Andrew Wiggins go up against LeBron James because, remember, LeBron got to Cleveland and immediately traded Andrew Wiggins for Kevin Love. And ever since then, anytime Andrew Wiggins plays against LeBron, there's like an extra little pep in his step, and he has some crazy dunks, and he defends his ass off, and he knocks down all of his shots. when Andrew Wiggins gives a bleep, he's a really good basketball player. The problem with Wiggins is that he doesn't always clearly give a bleep. And, that's where his production kind of suffers. So, um, yeah, that kind of type who is more committed to the sport, I would say would be perfect for what the Lakers need. Absolutely perfect. We have a couple of starred comments that I want to get to before I run out of time here. So, first one comes from Jazz Singh. When completely healthy, the Lakers have lost to Utah, Charlotte, the Bulls, and the Magic. I'm not too concerned, especially since LeBron and Rui are not right yet. I mean, I don't love a team that really that hasn't proven enough to believe that they can just flip the light switch. Those teams that feel that way before they actually do the thing, like the three-peat Lakers, especially after the first championship, were an insane light switch team. Like they just, they had that light switch on far more often than off. But they would go most of the game, just kind of go through the motions. Kobe was not going through the motions. It drove him insane how the rest of the team kind of felt about that. But as they got a little older and with Phil Jackson at the helm, the Lakers, after the first championship, slowly and steadily became more and more and more of a light switch team. But it was okay because that team was in the middle of winning 3 straight championships. So it was like, if they think they can flip a switch, I'm going to have to believe them until they prove that they can't flip the switch, or the league proves that the Lakers can't just flip that switch. And the Golden State Warriors were kind of a light years and light switch team where you watch Warriors Twitter and they would have a bunch of dumb turnovers and they would say, "Oh, we're doing this again. We're making this game way closer than it needs to be." And, lo and behold, they would pull out most of those games by the end of them than not. And again, it was like, we kind of just have to trust the Golden State Warriors because they were on that dynastic run. And the problem with the Lakers feeling that way, I understand LeBron feeling that way. He's proven plenty over the course of his career. But LeBron feeling that way and the rest of the Lakers feeling that way when they haven't won a championship, especially with this core, LeBron's the only player remaining from that championship team. So there is nobody on this team who should feel like they can just flip a switch, especially role players. And yet that's kind of sort of how this team has kind of operated because that's how LeBron feels about things. And that hurts the Lakers a lot. So I don't love that. But to your point, if LeBron gets to the postseason and looks more right, then I'll feel a hell of a lot better about the Lakers' chances. If Rui gets to the postseason and gets enough rest between now and then to where his knee feels a little bit better, again, I'll feel a hell of a lot better about the Lakers' chances. And by that time, if those guys feel that well and the Lakers perform at the level that I think they can with those guys feeling well, nobody's going to look back and remember those stupid losses to Utah, to Charlotte, to Bulls, and to the Magic. Hilariously, Orlando did wind up pulling out that win, but I did kind of laugh. I talked up Orlando, right? I said, yeah, I think this team is a lot better than their record indicates. They've had a whole bunch of tough injuries, blah, 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 blah. I just think that this isn't as bad a loss as it seems on its face. And then the next day, Orlando's in a dogfight with Charlotte, and I'm like, guys, you're making me look like an even bigger idiot here. But yeah, if the Lakers do what they can in the postseason and prove that they actually could have operated as a light switch team, then all of that light switch stuff, the frustrations that came from the light switch stuff, will fall by the wayside. Hopefully that's the case. Jazz also writes, who do you think will the Lakers will pair with 23 after 77 retires. That's funny. According to the Dallas Mavericks, that's a possibility with some of the reasoning that they leaked to the media and that they laundered to the media um, about concerns about Luka Doncic. That's a hilarious question. It'll be Wemby, who maybe by that time the Spurs will be concerned about Wemby's long-term health and well-being. Let's see. I'm going to scroll back up to the top and see here. The negativity this guy talks about. I've been positive this whole show. Anyway, let's see. Gray Raj looking good. All right, so here's the deal. Costco is selling these shirts, and Jen says I look good in them, so I'm going to go buy like 73 of them because it takes a lot. For Jen even called one of these shirts slimming. I think they're by Jack's New York, like Costco. They're like $12, and they're these button-down shirts. They're like really stretchy too. I love them. They're great. Anyway, do you think? Okay, Pat Greedy. Do you think the Lakers are still championship contenders? All right, here. Where's this combination? Frankie, pay attention. All right, Frankie. Pat, do you think the Lakers are still championship contenders? Yes. Yes, I do think the Lakers are championship contenders. They have Luka. LeBron James is their second best player. They ripped off, what was it, like they were like 21-3 for a stretch, or 17-3, some nonsense right after they traded for Luka, and they were actually defending and they were healthy. And look, here's the number one reason why the Lakers might not be championship contenders. If Rui isn't fully healthy and can't get fully healthy, and if LeBron can't get fully healthy, then okay. Then the Lakers are not championship contenders. But if we are taking for granted health, and the way that we have to take health for granted in some of this analysis, if those guys are healthy, the Lakers are 100% championship contenders. 100%. None of these teams want to see Luka and LeBron in a playoff series. None of them. Like throughout the league, even in the Eastern Conference, the idea of facing off against Luka with his playoff pedigree and LeBron with his playoff resume, nobody wants to see those guys. Austin raises his game in the postseason as well. And if the Lakers get even decent shooting from the role players, and if Jackson Hayes is like 70% of who he looked like he might be at his absolute peak, then okay. That's a good ass team. And I really honestly believe that they are still championship contenders. Let's go here. Oh, all right. We're making our way through here. JD, why would we waste Luka's young years with a 40-year-old that doesn't want to pass the torch? Huh? I want to know where people like get this sentiment from. LeBron wanted to pass the torch to Anthony Davis. The problem was Anthony Davis never showed that he could consistently take that torch. The thing about torch passing, Kobe said this. I think Raj used this example. But at one point, it was like, they asked Kobe, hey, are you ready to pass the torch to these kids here or whatever? He's like, hell no. Those guys got to take it. Luka's going to take the torch. He already has taken the torch from LeBron. And I think LeBron, now, does it mean that LeBron can just, again, flip that switch and immediately become a role player? Hell no. It's going to take time. It's going to take reps for LeBron and Luka to figure out how they're going to play together. But I've never gotten the sense. I've actually really loved watching LeBron try to operate with Luka in the organization. Like, this is the first time in his life that there is somebody who the organization he plays for considers is more important than he is. That is such a wild concept for LeBron. Think of something that you have just assumed your whole life, whatever it might be. If I drop something, right? If I drop this, it's going to fall. Okay. This is universal law. I am used to this, right? And then imagine I let go of this thing and it just floats here. Imagine how that would mess with your head. LeBron James has always just kind of assumed I am the sun to this organization's universe. Everything here is going to revolve around me. If I tell the GM to jump, he's going to ask me how high. But now, that's not to say that Rob isn't going to work with him at all, even though I still think that intro presser was super weird. But now, if LeBron says, hey, Rob, I want you to trade Luka. I think if we trade Luka, we get the better chance at winning a championship over the next however many years. And Rob's going to be like, no, just flat out no. And that's the first time that LeBron, will go to a front office. Maybe in Miami, it was the same, right? Where he wanted like Mike Miller and the Heat's, what did I say, Orlando? In Miami. The Heat's front office, Pat Riley, told him like, nah, no, we'll see how good we can do without him. That was probably the closest thing to it. And you know what LeBron did? He pieced. He was like, well, okay, fine. You think you're the reason that we had all this success. You think you're the secret sauce here, and your stupid little culture is the secret sauce here. See what happens when I take the actual sauce, when I take the beef with me and I go up to Cleveland. And then guess what? LeBron went and won a championship in Cleveland. So yeah, I don't know. I understand that it's kind of impossible to talk about LeBron without the conversation getting maximum stupid all the time. But if there's one thing that I'm going to push back against, it's this notion that LeBron hasn't done everything in his power to try to make this thing work with Luka. I think he has been really, really good in this situation. I mean, it's been really cool to watch him transform his game to the best he can while, rethinking gravity. Let's go with, take that one off. All right. This is a fairish point. They can get 3 or 4 good young players for James's salary. The one problem that I would say there, though, is it's not like when you remove LeBron's salary, you just now have 40 whatever million bucks to work with, and you can just split that up. Like, it doesn't really work that way. The Lakers are still going to be above the cap. And yeah, you'll have more flexibility, just like we saw with the Clippers when Paul George left. You'll have more flexibility, and you can go. But the thing with basketball is 25 cents doesn't always add up to $1. And now look, LeBron, I don't think at this stage of his career is consistently a dollar type player. But like, this is why give you guys a look into how I kind of operate in fantasy sports. I'm always trying to condense my team and trying to get as much top end fantasy talent as I possibly can, because that type of production where you can get, like I had Josh Allen as my quarterback this year. If you can basically employ a quarterback and a running back in just the quarterback spot, then that allows you to have a quarterback, a running back, and then another running back or another couple running backs, depending on your roster setup, right? Your league's setup. And in basketball, yeah, you can split LeBron's salary. Even if I grant you that assumption that you could just split up LeBron's salary evenly among 3 above average players, you're not always going to have all 3 of those guys on the court together. So you're better off having the dollar level player or even close to a dollar level player, because that means you'll have that dollar out there and other, cent, 25, whatever, 35-cent type players out there with him. That's how basketball works. And then you add on top of that, like the complications of the cap, and how it isn't just a straight out goes LeBron, in comes 3 Cam Johnsons or whatever you want to call it, or 2 Cam Johnsons, or Cam Johnson and Lou Dort or Alex Caruso or whatever player. Like, it's not quite how it works. And yeah, it's I understand some of the concern. I understand he's 40 years old, and I understand that, since he came back from injury, he hasn't looked like himself. But I guarantee a lot of these complaints are going to go away by the time we get to the postseason, and LeBron and Luka are wrecking worlds against the other teams, because that's what those guys do in the postseason. Let's go. All right. I'm going to go. There's a conversation taking place here. So, yeah, I think I'm going to call it here. Yep. Perfect. Wow. Thank you, everyone. Wow. I look up and it's been an hour. This has been fun. This is exactly what I was hoping it would be. My ego is it takes a little bit of a hit because the Twitter numbers aren't there to lie to me about how many people are actually watching. But at the end of the day, however many people are watching here are more monetizable than the fake Elon people. And that's probably worth it. So anyway, the plan for the rest of the week, the Lakers have games back to back tomorrow and the next night. So I'll be there in the lounge to break those games down as well. Hopefully I'll have some news for you between now and the end of the week, as some stuff starts taking place and gets worked on behind the scenes here to kind of readjust before the postseason, with Raj taking that gig at Silver Screen. So we'll, I'll have all of this worked out for you guys, and I can't wait to announce it all. It's going to be great. I think you guys are going to be really excited about it. So until then, and until the next time you guys hear from me, I'm Anthony Irwin saying, have a great rest of your day. Make somebody else's, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.